How y'all doing? Thank y'all for coming out today. Just wanted to kind of go over the different things about meter reading. And I know you guys talk to customers every day. Wanted to present the opportunity for you to show you guys in the field of what you're explaining to customers as it relates to like consistent billing, reading meters, to dispel different things about when you have mud covering the face of the glass. How do we read the meters in that case? How do we get accurate pictures after a read? And just kind of give customers an opportunity for you to explain to them the position of where their meter is in relation to the stop and waste on their house. So if y'all don't know, that's a meter box. It's an oval box that's usually in front of the customer's home. We have a few different meter boxes, some big, some small. This is our standard meter box that you'll see at I would say 60% of the houses in Jefferson Parish. And the position of this meter box can be from anywhere between in the driveway area in front of the sidewalk. Sometimes they could be behind the sidewalk. They could be to the left in the grass. They could be to the right of the grass. So if you look at the front screen when y'all talking to customers, it'll give you the position of the meter box of the house. And if I'm not mistaken, this one is probably going to say left yard. Yep. So if you look at the very middle of the house, the middle, usually the peak of the front of the house is the dividing line of the property. And you're really going off of the property. So if your meter's to the left of the dividing line of the property, it's the left yard. So we have some meters that are on the left side, that could be on a side street, the right yard, it could be up in the very middle of the yard. So if you look at the front screen, the customer asks you a question of where the meter's located, you can look at the front screen and be able to tell them where it is. So what I'm gonna do right now is kind of pop the meter box and kind of show you guys the different parts of the meter and everything that goes from how the water comes from the main line into the meter and then leaves the meter and goes to the house. So if you come close, in the front of the meter, this is the front of the meter, and this is the back of the meter. The front of the meter is your service line that comes from the main line. Every street, well, majority of the streets have a main line, like a water main that goes down the street, and each house has a service line that can range from somewhere between 3/4 inch to 2 inches, a service line going to the meter itself. So in the front of the box is the meter. The next part that goes is called the curb stop. This is how we shut the meter off. Right now the meter's curb stop is in the on position. If we were to turn this and line these two holes up, it's going to be in the off position. And in most cases, you hear about lock, blind, or remove meter. So in this case, if we was to line these two holes up and we would put a padlock in between here, it's called locking the meter. Okay. So we would call something lock blinds, what we call a blind-o-meter. What you would do is you would unscrew it on the back of the curb stop, which we call a coupling right here, and you will stick a quarter-size pad in the inside of it and close it back, and that's called blinding the meter. And then in most cases, extreme cases, we have customers who will break the meter or take it out. We would call remove meter. And we would remove this entire meter, put it back on the truck, and then remove this entire service all the way back to the main. So it's impossible to steal water at that point. So given that this is the front of the meter, the curb stop, we have something called the meter coupling, which is in the back of the curb stop. This is the dividing line between the private side and the public side of the responsibility. So anything from the front of the curb stop going into the street is the public's responsibility. We would make all repairs if there's any leaks to this line. But if there was any breaks or any leakage beyond the meter coupling going to the house, it's the customer's responsibility to make repairs. So in most cases, when you have leaks on the back side of the meter, it's going to affect your bill. Because remember, the water goes from the main line through the meter and it comes out the back. So any breakage that's going to happen between the back of the meter and the house is going to affect the customer's bill. Any breakage that's in front of the meter is not actually going through the meter, it's leaking out before it hits the meter, so it does not affect the customer. So the next thing I want to point out is the actual meter itself. So typically every meter is going to have a cover on it like this. And what you find on top of the cover is the meter number itself. That's how we verify the reading is correct versus the meter that we're reading. We take a picture of the reading and we take a picture of the number itself. You can find that number on top of the cap. You can find that number below the cap. And you can also find that number on the body of the meter itself. So we instruct troubleshooters to take a picture of the meter number and the reading itself, so we can verify that everything is consistent with the reading that we pick up. So now I want to point out the actual numbers that we read. So we read these numbers. We read the white numbers. Some meters have 3 white numbers. Some meters have 4 white numbers. We bill per 1,000 gallons. So if you were to count those numbers from the decimal point, your ones, your tens, your hundreds, and your thousands place, we start reading there, and that's how we are able to bill a customer per 1,000 gallons. The other thing I want to point out is, so you see the red spinny, the red spiral? Mm-hmm. That's called leak detection. So if a customer had a leak in their home or a leak behind the meter, that would spin. And we're going to show some examples of that in a little bit of leak detection.
So that's when they put no reg?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah, that's why it says no reg.
So typically for a work order, when it comes back to the office, we would say either it has registration or it has no registration. And typically if this is put on there no reg, that means it's likely that that person has no active leakage at the time we visited the property. So now what I want you guys to see is that we're simulating a leak in the property. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we come to the meter and we will sit here for about 10 minutes and we will observe the spiral spinning. If we see the spiral spinning for a consistent period of time, it's safe to say there's a leak in the property. Typically, we're going to sit here longer than it takes a toilet to flush. Sometimes a cycle, and when you're washing dishes or if you're washing your clothes, we'll try to sit here to see how long is it spin. If it's going to spin for an abnormal long time, then we know that there's possibly a leak in the house. And especially if we visibly see there's no one home, if we knock on the door, that means no one should be in the house using water. It's most likely they have some type of leak that they're unaware of. So that's how we're able to tell if there's some type of leakage, in someone's home, and we will put registration on a work order saying, for like continuous usage. All right. So another way that we read meters is that we read from left to right, the white numbers that I pointed out earlier. Can someone look at that and tell me what the numbers are on the meter right now, the white numbers?
I don't have my glasses on.
31.
Is 0031?
Yeah, 0031.
0031. So I'm glad you took your finger and did that. So that brings up another point. So you see that thin layer of mud of dirt around the glass of the meter. So this is what we get when you manually read meters in the Jefferson Parish topography when it comes to dirt. We have a real soft dirt here. So anytime it rains, this meter box will fill up with water, and then it'll go back down. And what it leaves is a thin layer of dirt over the top of the glass. So you could just imagine how many times it rains, how many times we have morning dew, we have condensation in a 2-month period, because we bill every 2 months. So with that being said, usually we get questions from customers, well, somebody hasn't been here in months, and which is a true statement because we read every 2 months anyway. So in that 2-month period, by rain and water going up and down in this meter, it leaves a thin layer of dirt on top of the glass. And what meter readers normally would do, they would come here, they would take their finger or take some type of rag, and they would just wipe across the front of it so they can see the numbers and move on to the next one. It's pretty impossible to expect the meter reader to come here and clean out this entire box and do this 300 times a day to be able to get us readings that we need on a daily basis. So it was good that you did that, because that's what a typical meter reader would have to come and do to get a read, because there's always going to be a thin layer of dirt on top of the meter, and it's hard to read that way. So we come and we take a rag or something and wipe it off and move on to the next. So what number did you pick up? 31. So look at your front screen of your of the paper that you have. What was the last number that was read on this meter?
27.
So if you had to know how much water was used since September 29th, how many gallons of water was used since then?
4,000.
4,000 gallons. Would you say 4,000 gallons is within the normal usage of this home? Now, taking account that we read every 2 months. So the last time somebody was here was September 29th. Mm-hmm. So the next time somebody should be here is around November 29th, somewhere in that area, to make it a 2-month bill. Mm-hmm. So would you think 4,000 gallons is within normal range of usage or not?
Yeah.
So that's how I want you guys to explain to customers. You have to be able to get that reading, whether it's an AB report that come in the picture, you know, the F12 screen where you can see the picture, you look at, okay, the reading was this on this particular day. All right, well, let me do the math in my head and say, okay, this person is using this amount of water within their within their normal range. Is this high or low? And you can explain to the customer, okay, no, ma'am, something's going on at your house. You use more water than you normally would use. And that's the kind of conversation we want to have with customers based on the picture that we have when we get that back from the field. So that's why it's very important that we have pictures. And if you don't have a picture when you're talking to a customer, please send a workout out to get one. So with that being said, that's how we get an accurate read when it comes to the meter. I want to also move to the house to kind of give you an idea of where the water goes from that point. And just remember what I said, everything that's from the back side of the curb stop, the meter coupling, is the homeowner's responsibility to repair. So this is the side of a customer's home. This is where the water goes from the back of the meter into the customer's home itself. Right here is the pipe that comes from the back of the meter. The line goes under the driveway, all the way to the side of the house, to the bottom part right here. The water goes up, and then it goes into the house. So this is the part where we call a spigot. Usually they would call it a water hose. There's different names for it, but we call it the spigot in our office. And what we call here is a stop and waste valve. So there's different types of stop and waste valves. You can have this type, a handle, or you can have like a round sprocket where you can turn it to be able to turn the water off and on. Right now, with the curb stop being vertical with the pipe, it's in the on position. If we were to turn this like this, it'll be in the off position, and we stop all of the water from going into the house. But this is the customer's responsibility to maintain. We recommend, if they're having issues in the home that they need to shut the water off, we recommend that they come out here and turn the stop and waste off. Okay. And also, we turn it off. If we came in, say for instance, this customer was disconnected and we wanted to turn them back on, and we didn't want water to go into the house and flood the house, we would come and turn it off right here. So if a customer came home and said, y'all was supposed to turn my water on, why is my water not on? We would tell them, can you please go outside and check your stop and waste and make sure it's in the on position. So, and while we're looking at this is a copper line. So this house has copper from the back of the meter going into the house. So another way to test it, you would have like a penny or a sharp knife, and you would scratch it, and it's going to shine like a penny.
Okay, I see it now.
So any questions as it relates to the stop and waste?
No. Nope. So it's always on the side of the house, obviously.
Yes, for the most part. They have some that's on the front of the house too.
Oh, okay.
But every home typically has a stop and waste, unless it's like a really, really old home. And the only way you can shut it off at that point is at the meter.
Okay.
In most cases, not all the outside spigot, it aligns with the meter. So for those that go out and read meters, they kind of look to see where the water is coming from the side of the house. And in some, in most situations, they'll be able to identify the meter from there.
Right. So
can you talk a little bit about the different types of lines that we use in Jefferson Parish? I know you use copper lines, but I know plastic tubing.
Yeah, so right now we use a plastic tubing. It's a PE tubing. That's what we only install services with PE tubing. But the plumber, the person that constructed the home, or the contractor, it's their choice what they use at that point. Typically, right now they only use plastic or a copper line. That's what's used in Jefferson Parish now. But prior to 1988, customers use a lot of galvanized and lead lines in their services. I know in Jefferson Parish, for the most part, before that, in the 70s, we started using copper lines for our services. But even now, we're replacing those with plastic tubing. So those are like usually the major types of lines you'll find: in galvanized lead for your older homes, and copper for your homes that were built like in the 70s going forward. And now it's all plastic. So one thing I do want to point out, we did simulate a leak, but I want to go bring everybody back to the meter, and he's going to simulate different types of leaks that you can have in your home and how fast that leak detection is going to spin on top of the meter. Okay. And you'll also be able to see, what a pin drop of water is going to look like. So y'all see how it's spinning? Now, if you go look at the spigot on the side of the home, he's simulating what a leak looks like, how much water it takes for your meter just to constantly run. So just imagine you have this amount of water going down your drain, going down your toilet. Every day, you don't know your toilet's leaking, you don't know your flapper's leaking, but you have this amount of water leaking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a 2-month period. That's thousands of gallons of water that's leaked out in a 2-month period. So typically people have these leaks in their home behind a wall, under a slab, and they have no idea. Because you can have a leak like this or a little bit less, and you can have a really hot summer, and it's gonna dry it up if there's a leak outside your home, and you will never know it's there.
Well, speaking of under the slab, how would a plumber or whomever get in there to detect if there's something going on?
They'll have to tunnel.
Oh.
Have the tunnel. I mean, there's other ways of doing it, the vibration. There's old ways that I know how to, I could put my ear to the water line, I could hear it.
Oh.
It depends on how experienced the plumber is.
You mind talking a little bit about the water table and how that impacts leak?
So the water table. So typically we have issues when it comes to leakage, not even just at the customer's home, but in the field when we have a lot of water line breaks. So in the summertime, Jefferson Parish is like below sea level. So we live it's like a water table. We have a high water table here at Jefferson Parish. That's why our ground is so moist. Like if you were to dig 6 inches below this ground, it's gonna be really, really soft, because that's just moisture. So if we have like in the summertime, if we had no rain, so the water table would drop. That means your ground would be drier and your water table will be a lot lower. But what that causes is cause a shift in the ground. So when you have a drop in the water table and then your ground becomes really hard, it's shifting. It's shifting over itself because the moisture is leaving it. And what that causes is breaks in the water line. If you have a small water line like this going to your home, if you have so many of those shifts, it'll eventually put stress on the water line and it causes the break. And inversely, the other way, if we have too much rain, it causes the water table to rise up and cause everything to be sloppy and muddy. If that happens too much, then you're gonna have another shift in the ground, because now the ground is trying to compensate for all of the water that's in it, so it's trying to expand, and which causes water lines and any other thing around it, utilities, to break. It'll cause that stuff to shift, and if you have so much of stress back and forth on the shifting of the ground, it causes breaks in the water line. So typically, customers have issues in the summer because you have so much dry ground, they have a lot of water breaks. We typically, even in the distribution system, we get more breaks in the summertime than we do in the spring months. But also when we have wintertime, when we have freezes break water lines as well, because now you have the ice. You have ice expands water even more when it freezes. So now you have more stress on pipes, which causes those lines to break more.
Now, is that why we turn the faucets on overnight when there's a freeze to keep so it doesn't put too much pressure on it?
So as a system, so if you have a raised home, we recommend that you run a small thin layer of water, but that's just to stop your water from freezing in your pipes, because since your home is raised, it'll allow cold air to run under the house, and it'll freeze your lines and you won't have water until it thaws. But if your house is on a slab like this, all we recommend you do is come and wrap this portion of the water line that's exposed up to here. But once the water line goes in your house, it's insulated by the walls, so you don't have to worry about it freezing. But if you don't wrap your pipes on the outside, it's possible you can come outside to a big ball of ice sitting on your pipe, and it's going to freeze your line.
Gotcha. Okay.
So water expands. So when it freezes, it expands. So it puts stress on the water line on the inside as well. You can have the ice in the inside that would freeze, and it'll break the water line open. So that's the different examples of water table and what water, ice, hot days, cold days can have an effect on your water line and have an effect on your bill.
So that was toilet leak. You want to?
Yeah, we can do a hot water heat, like a really, really fast leak, and you can see how much water is coming out, and you can go watch the leak detection spin, how fast it's spinning when you have a big leak in your home. So this simulates an extreme leak that typically happens. Say, for instance, you're not home for the day, your hot water heater breaks while you're gone. You have a busted line, in the back of your home, or one of the kids leave the faucet on and they leave the house for the day. This is what we will see when we come and check it out. We will see the console is spinning like this, and that adds up. If a kid leaves a faucet on, or you forget a faucet on and you leave and go home, you go to work for the day. That's 8 hours of water just wasted down the drain that's going to register through your meter. I mean, just like we tell customers, for 100% certainty, we know water passed through your meter because this meter does not turn unless water is going through it. As soon as I tell Rodney to stop and turn it off, it completely stops. This meter does not turn unless water goes through it. It's not powered by electricity. It's only powered by water going through it. So that's how we know for sure when the customer says, we did not use this water, but we have pictures and we have a reading that shows otherwise. You can say for sure that water passed through the meter. It's impossible for us to know where it went because we're not responsible for inside of the home. We don't have somebody that's sitting inside the house that can tell you, oh, the water was used here. We just know 100% sure that the water passed through the meter and it went into the home. It's the customer's responsibility to find out where the water went. And we try to give them dialogue on what that could be. Check your toilets, do a dye test, check your hot water heater, check under your sinks, check your faucets, make sure nothing's leaking. We give all of these different checkpoints to see maybe that's the reason why the usage is so high. We're gonna move to the next meter, so we're gonna see it's gonna be a different, just kind of a small demonstration on reading. So this is typically what a meter reader would have to fight through every day, but I guess I'll pop the top for you. I want somebody to tell me what the reading is on that meter. And you see it spinning because someone's actually home right now. And see how you had to take your finger and wipe it off? We were actually here a couple of days ago and wiped it off then. In the 2 days we haven't been here and we had rain, that was a little bit of that dirt that actually went over the top of the glass since we've been here. So just imagine you got 2 months of that.
It's 0111.
So look at your reading and tell me what that is.
The next page? Oh, it was 91?
Yes.
It's 20.
Oh, in the
That's
thousands.
20,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 20,000 usage.
20,000? That's correct. So the last time we were here was September 29th, and we're going to be here again the last week of November. Would you say 20,000 gallons is when they're in their normal range of usage?
As of recently, yeah. Because they just moved in not so long ago.
Mm-hmm. But you have 3 consistent bills that show the same usage, so you would say, yes, this is within your normal range of usage.
Yeah.
So if this customer called and said, I want somebody to check my meter, you would just explain to them, say, look, the reading is correct. You're within your normal range of usage. You don't need anybody to come out right now. Just, try to explain to the customer in that fashion. And you just move on to the next call. So that's how, basically. But that's how we look at the numbers. We do a deep dive into the numbers to know if something's wrong with somebody's reading or not.
And then, people are creatures of habit, and we have 2 homes that are exactly the same, but their usage is totally different.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we have one that averages about 20,000 gallons, and then the other one that was, 6 or
6,
Mhm.
yeah.
so you can't say, oh, well, my neighbor bill did X, Y, and Z. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily work that way. It matters on how many people are living in the home, what are your habits. As Sidney likes to say, we're creatures of habit. We wake up the same time, we use water in the morning, we use water in the evening. And we're also creatures of habit when it comes to season. People use more water during the summer times, whether you're hosting events at your home, things, filling out pools, things like that. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when it comes to water consumption.
All right. Any questions? I do want to ask some questions of one of y'all. Who wants the first question?
Game show.
Who wants the first question?
What's this for?
So I can touch on that.
That's my question.
So this is the wire. This is called a ERT wire. It's an electronic reading transmitter.
Okay.
Electronic reading transmitter is an ERT wire, or ERT wire. So if you was to look on the front screen, you'll see a section that says, you should see a section that says ERT, maybe not. But anyway, so this is a wire. This actually transmits to an antenna. So when we switch over to the AMI meters, it's going to be able to take a reading from this manual read, from this register right here, and transmit it to the antenna, and then the antenna is going to send it back to our building. And we'll be able to get a real-time reading on the meter without sending somebody out here to check it, and we'll be getting real-time usage on the history of the meter. So that's the antenna that's the wire that connects the meter to the antenna,
Okay. So then, okay.
and that's going to be for the new AMI project that we're doing.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Who's first? Here you go, Liz. I want you to point to me where the curb stop is. Where's the meter coupling? Where can I? You're right. Where can I find the meter number?
Inside the cap, on top of it, and on the side of the meter.
Where's the leak detection?
Right here, the reg.
All right. Where's the service line that comes in from the city?
Going towards the street.
All right. It's a good job.
All right.
Well, thank y'all.
Helpful. Thank you.
We just want to be able to give y'all a better insight when y'all talking to customers. And so when y'all telling them, where stuff is located on the property, or telling them where to go to the stop and waste, or we encourage customers to come out here and look to see what the leak detection, see if something's running in their house, because they know better than us whether they're using water or not. So if they see this spinning and they know they're not using water, then likely have a leak in the house. All right. Thank you.
Good.